Jose Guillermo Hay was born in Puchuque, Chile to English parents, Joseph and Mary Hay, in 1848. In 1851, they moved to Guernsey, the second largest of the Channel Islands. By 1853, the family was back in England until Joseph, the head of the family, unexpectedly died in June of 1862. Mary's brother, Thomas Lovett, sponsored his sister and her 4 children to board the sailing ship called the Spitfire, which arrived in Sydney Harbour on the 24th of August, 1863. Jose, now going by the name Joseph, was 15 years old, with the job description of labourer. On the 3rd of September 1863, in the Sydney Morning Herald, George F. Wise, agent for immigrants, advertised the Spitfire's arrival for both males and females, married or single, looking for work. Special hiring days were arranged, saying the men mainly consisted of agricultural labourers and the women general house and farm servants. On the 17th of June 1871, Joseph married Eliza Jane Reuben in St Mary's Cathedral, Sydney. In the Blue Book of 1877, Joseph Hay was listed as a temporary clerk for the Secretary for Lands Office. On the 12th of September 1878, Joseph and Eliza purchased portion 76 in Lawson and built a 2-storey house on it. And Joseph also purchased up to 630 acres of land in Lawson, and sometimes by dubious means. In the Sydney Morning Herald on the 5th of March 1880, they advertised their Melton residence for private accommodation, and the contact was M. Hay, Joseph's mother. They advertised their accommodation in the pictorial guide Blue Mountains of 1882 as San Jose, the Blue Mountain Sanatorium, is the best for private families. It was well advertised, with images of the many nearby waterfalls. In the Government Gazette in July 1886, Joseph Hay was announced as a trustee of land in Lawson. On the 3rd of October 1888, in the Sydney Morning Herald, it was advertised as Mrs. Hay's establishment, but this time it was Joseph's wife, Eliza, running it. Early in 1889, it was advertised, "Further improvements. Mr. J.G. Hay is now adding about 15 rooms to his already commodious sanatorium, San Jose. His place at present is fairly full with visitors as usual, coming and going daily." In the Katoomba Times on the 29th of June 1889, Joseph Hay applied for a publican's licence, but it was denied, and he was summoned to Penrith Courthouse in 1892 for being caught by Sergeant Thorndyke for trying to sell 3 bottles of stout, which ended in Joseph being fined £30. In January 1894, the Hays sold the property to William John Finneran, a builder from Burwood. He leased it to Charles White in June of 1894, where it was to be known as the Palace, or Coffee Palace. A solicitor from Sydney, John Thompson Ralston, purchased the property in September 1894. An article in the Mountaineer from the 5th of October 1894 reads, "A social was held at the Coffee Palace on Monday evening and was largely attended, about 20 couples being present, including visitors from Sydney and elsewhere. Mrs. Atkinson, piano, supplied the music, which was up to the usual standard. The catering was in the hands of Mr. Charles White, proprietor of the palace, whose name is a guarantee that everything was first class." An article from October 1907 reads, "Lawson Village in danger. Lawson, 57 miles from Sydney on the Western Line, has reported that fires which had been raging in the neighbourhood of the town were approaching the residential area on the western side, threatening the place. The Coffee Palace has already caught fire 3 times. On the first 2 occasions, the flames had been put out, but it caught alight a 3rd time, and at the time of telegraphing, it was still burning. The whole western side of the town was regarded as being in danger." 1914 saw a new leasee, a Mr. Charles Reed, but he only leased it for a few years, until Effie Townsend Wiles of Lawson, a boarding school proprietor, leased the building in March of 1917. Effie Townsend Wiles, along with her sister Ethel, purchased the property in November 1924 for £2,250, and the Coffee Palace was to become the Stratford School for Girls. In 1937, the land title was transferred to the Archbishop of Sydney, Howard Mowell, and in 1941, it was controlled by the Anglican Grammar School until 1966. The Stratford School for Girls closed in 1961. In 1966, it was renovated by its new owner and operated as a wedding reception venue and for private dinners. In 1977, it opened as the Blue Mountain Community School with 18 students, but in June 1980, Due to an electrical fault, it was damaged by fire, where it sat dormant until 1992, where its ruins were demolished, and the only part left standing was the tower that was constructed after the Hayes had left. So all that's left for me to do is to visit the ruins of San Jose, the Blue Mountain Sanatorium. So here's the sandstone fence that surrounded the Blue Mountain Sanatorium, and then was known as the Palace or Coffee Palace, and then the Blue Mountain Community School. So Lawson was known as Blue Mountain until it's got its name as Lawson when they named Blacksland, but before that it was Wasco's. In one of the other stories, John Outram Wasco owned the Pilgrim in the area that long, so they just called it Wasco's. But yeah, the fence only just goes up to about here somewhere, as you can see, and it's just all bush. It's a massive area. We're just going to kind of push along a little bit up here, and we'll see if there's anything else we can find before we go and have a look at the tower. So while I'm walking along here, I'd like to say thanks to Brian Fox, who did a history of the Blue Mountain Sanatorium, and all the information was right there. I just had to pick and choose what I wanted. I didn't record everything, but he had all the newspaper articles and that all listed. So big thank you to Brian Fox for his efforts and in finding all the information, and made my job easier. So it just looks like there's pretty full of bush here. There's a house right here. So all this area was owned by Joseph Hay, and then it was sold off or given to relatives of his. So I'm not going to walk in there to be too many snakes, but we're going to go around now and check out what's left of the Blue Mountain Sanatorium after it was demolished. So we're back at the front gate there, and we're going to walk around and see what's left. So as I said before, this is still privately owned, and that is Lawson Library, but it was the Blue Mountain Shire Council building that Percy Wilson was the president of for most of the 1920s and nearly most of the 1930s until he died in late 1930s. So anyway, this is what's left, just the tower. And it did say up the top there, Stratford School for Girls, where you see that kind of a bit of a white paint, but that's all gone. So we'll go and walk around as much as we can. It's been fenced off. We'll go around this side first. So the only part left is the tower, and that was built after the Hayes had sold the place. And I think either John Finneran might have built this, because he was a builder, so he's probably the most likely culprit to have built this tower for whatever reasons, maybe to upgrade it and then try and sell it to make a bit of money. Tower. You can see out the top of that one. Looks like a big... It's pretty cool. Pretty cool, this. Oh, people have broken it. Oh wow. Look at that. I'm not going to walk in for safety. I don't want anything falling on me. You can see where the stairs would have went down. And it's just rubble in here now. People coming in and smash bottles. Young hooligans, and you can see where all the levels were. Try and zoom in up the top. It's pretty cool. This is the only part left of the building. Let's go and see if we can find anything else that's left over. There may be something else. So that's all that's left of the building. Just gonna do a bit of a walk through and see if there's any kind of structure here. Someone's dumped some chairs here. See if there's anything concrete or... So the building, that was the most southern side, and it kept coming towards the north. There's a bit of rocks over here. I'm not sure how much of it was or anything of this was part of the building structure. A lot of trees here. So people have walked through here a lot before. There's really nothing left. Don't know what's up here. Just got to be careful because of the snakes. It's just an old tree fallen down. Nothing in there. The building was pretty large. It would still be going along from the tower over there, all the way along here. So it looks like when they've demolished it, they've done a really good job of pretty much getting rid of everything in the area. There's some old pipe work here. So there's old pipe. Thought that was a snake there, but look. Blue tongue. Blue tongue lizard. It's pretty big too. Just leave him alone. But the blue tongues are here, so are the snakes. And there'd be an area where they would be because of the amount of frogs and that being in the area. Let's have a look up here. There's some old tin. So, some old tin here. That would be probably part of the roof. There is. It's like it's been bulldozed up. So, they may have brought some bulldozers in here to bulldoze it down and then pushed up this little ridge here that goes all the way along. But there's nothing else here, it's just bush. And there wouldn't be anything down here because this was flat and this part's all angling down the slope here. They've done a really great job at getting rid of anything other than the tower. Because I just can't find anything, but look, it's been, you know, around 40 years since the tower's been, or 30 something years since the tower's been knocked over. And yeah, there's really nothing left to see other than the tower. There's nothing in here. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. It took a couple of months to get this one done. It's just a hobby of mine, and it's basically when I get time to do the stories, I make them up and put them on my channel. So not sure what my next one's going to be. I'm going to have to look through and see what I'm going to do next, but hope you enjoyed this. And as I always say, always hiking thongs.